Get busy living or get busy dying. Or just listen to Thrive Loud with Lou Diamond. It's a lot like dying. Slowly.
Would you like to learn from those that are taking their lives, their businesses, and their passions to the next level? Best-selling author of Speakeasy and master connector Lou Diamond is here to connect you to some of the most inspiring and amazing people on this planet. Get ready to thrive loud with Lou Diamond.
I knew the minute that I picked you up.
Welcome, everyone, to another spectacular episode of Thrive Loud with Lou Diamond, connecting you to the most inspiring and amazing people that are thriving each and every day. I'm your host, Lou Diamond. Oh, boy. Today on Thrive Loud, we have a gentleman who started building his commercial real estate empire at the age of 24 with nothing but shoe leather and a lot of hustle. Today, he owns over $500 million in assets across the country and shares his wealth building commercial real estate investing and self-improvement and leadership insights and knowledge with his audience around the world. We're going to have a fun time talking about him, his fun, the work he does. Thrive Out listeners, I bring you Ben Reinberg. Ben, how are you today?
Lou, I'm great. What a pleasure to be on your show, and thank you for having me. It's great to see you. Happy New Year. And thanks again. I know I will add a lot of value to your audience and look forward to chatting with you today.
So here's what we want to do, Ben. I am one of those guys that knows a little of your story, but our listeners don't quite know who you are yet. So here's what I want to do. I want to do a little rewind. We don't have to go all the way back to the womb, Ben. We could go to a spot to kind of understand kind of how what you're doing now became your gig.
Well, I started when I was 24 years old, and I was a CPA, and I worked in accounting for a year. And I tell this story where I was on audit and a billionaire inspired me to become an entrepreneur. And I won't get into those details, but long story short, since I was a kid, I've always wanted my own business. And I always wanted my own autonomy and never wanted to have to work for someone or listen to someone. I was always a rebel when I was a kid. My first job, I sold Marlboro cigarettes at a bar when I was 8 years old to make money so I could buy candy and Slurpees at 7-Eleven down the street where I lived in the Chicago area. And I've always had that entrepreneurial spirit, and it lives with me today. And I started when I was young, and I had a gentleman that helped me kind of get started and showed me how to do my first deal. My first deal was an industrial deal, Lou. My expertise in commercial real estate is office, industrial, and retail assets. The last 17 years out of my 28 plus year career, my company, we've been focusing on medical, and then 3.5 years veterinary and properties. So we just launched a new fund for medical properties, which is really exciting. And so it's a marathon business, and it's not one of these, we have investors from all over the world that invest with us. We find assets in various parts of the United States that we invest in. So we own office, industrial, and retail assets around the United States. And we have a large portion of our portfolio now is medical, because that's what we've been focusing on for quite some time. So really proud of where we've come. It's a testament to my staff and everyone at my company, Alliance Consolidated Group of Companies. We're originally from Chicago. My office is in Newport Beach. I live in California now. I moved here about a year ago. And we have offices in Tampa as well as Minneapolis and different parts of the country. So we have people now that work all over. We've had to deal with the remote workplace, which we have, and had to kind of change the course of the way we do business. Mm-hmm. But all in all, our skills are outstanding. We have a 200 plus years of experience on our leadership team. And I'm just very blessed. I've worked extremely hard to get to this point. My goal is to have my leadership team run this company, which they will be hopefully soon. And I'll be stepping out. One of the things that I'm doing is when I learned the business, Lou, I never felt that the people above me taught me the business or taught people below them the business. And I said, well, I'm going to change that. I'm going to teach commercial real estate around the world. And so shortly we're going to launch courses where I can add value. I'm from Chicago. You can probably hear my
I
accent.
was about to say the accent did slip out there. I did catch it a little bit there. Yeah.
I am Chicago born and raised. And even though I live in California, my heart's always in Chicago. And my staff is too. And I go back there because we still have our headquarters there. Yeah. And my family's there as well, my folks and brothers. And so Chicago will always be my home. It's in my heart. And
yeah, no, I'm going to jump in, Ben, because I want to talk about commercial real estate for a second. I'm going to get a little geeky on you here. So this was one of the strangest commercial real estate windows of time. Anyone look, every market's got their bumps and bruises, and if you take the timeline long enough, everything stretches out to almost the zero-sum game of ups and downs. The pandemic was one of the weirder times, specifically commercial real estate. I happen to have a family member who's in commercial real estate and in the retail aspect of it, which you can only imagine what that was like. Help paint a picture for our listeners here as to what the world looked like once we were shut down and what that was doing. And as business was changing, companies weren't renewing leases. They were working virtually from home. Locations were changing where certain things were. People were trying to figure out how to handle paying their rents within that space. In the worlds that you're in, and obviously you highlighted some of the industries you're in, help paint that picture for our listeners as to what these last 2.5 years was kind of like. Because there's, to those who aren't familiar with it, there is nothing more strange than what's happened in your world. Can you help explain that to our listeners?
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, to start, it was a challenge for me because I like having an office. And all of a sudden I was forced to work from home. And so I had to adjust. And then I had to figure out how to manage, and my leadership team, how to manage people working remotely. So that was the first challenge. And then we had to deal with our tenants. So in the medical office space, our assets, Lou, are recession and pandemic resilient type real estate. We collected all our rents on our medical property and our veterinarian properties, which we were really blessed. We thrived. We were buying assets during the pandemic. We had a good run during the pandemic. However, we had some properties with our retail tenants. Yeah. And I saw this. There was some congruency to 08 and 09. In 08 and 09, the retail tenants, especially in some of the office tenants, took advantage of it where they said, you know what? Our landlord needs us. We're going to go back and renegotiate, or we're just basically going to close up and start consolidating, and they can just go, sail in the wind if they want. And a lot of tenants we saw in the retail space, I'm sure your family member could attest to this. They were using a force majeure clause in the lease, saying, well, this is a force majeure. There's never been a legal precedent for COVID or a pandemic force majeure, so that was something that wasn't really a leg to stand on. However, we saw tenants asking for concessions, saying in the retail space, give me a month to 6 months because we don't know where we're opening. Now, we invest in states that have good policies. Like we have properties all throughout the South, Southeast, Southwest, Mountain West, and parts of the West Coast where the cities we've invested in were not shut down like Chicago, where I'm from, or Illinois, even though we still own properties there. So for myself and your colleagues and family members and other people in our business, we went through this negotiation where tenants felt that they could take advantage of the situation. It wasn't that they didn't have the cash. They didn't want to spend it because they were concerned. They didn't know when they were going to come back and start opening again. So there was a lot of fear out in the marketplace. And when there's fear, people take advantage of the situation because as landlords, they don't want to lose tenant. They don't want to lose cash flow. So lenders had to get involved too, because some lenders had to get involved and say, well, wait a minute, if the tenants aren't paying rent, we're not going to go and foreclose on our landlords because it's out of their control. So it had a domino effect. It was very stressful in commercial real estate. We thrived with our medical properties, but we did have some situations where we had to do some workouts with tenants who were abusing us, saying, hey, we're not going to pay April, May, June rent of 2020 when the pandemic was at its height. And It was a challenge. However, I could tell you, in almost being in this business for 3 decades, Lou, that when you have challenges like a pandemic, the cream always rises to the top. And myself and my staff and my leadership team, just outstanding work how we dealt with things, between PPP loans, which were a challenge, to dealing with tenants, brand new acquisitions, raising money in the pandemic, which we
Yeah.
did successfully. So I have to tip the hat to my company and the people at Alliance, because we went through it, we thrived, and I am so proud of what we were able to accomplish. I remember that DoorDash and Grubhub and Uber Eats were my friends, because I kept sending my leadership team employees. I spent thousands of dollars. I never used those services. I heard about it from my kids, because they use different services out on the West Coast. I have two that go to USC, two of my 3 kids. And so I knew about these delivery services. And so that kind of came into play. So between managing employees and leadership team, buying assets, raising equity, and dealing with tenants, they were long days. They were
Yeah.
long. And I was working at home at the time. I was living in Chicago, and so it was nice, because in the winter it was so cold. It was like, okay, well, working from home was a big deal. So it worked out well. But I have to say, we actually did pretty well during the pandemic. But it was challenging. I won't
Yeah.
sugarcoat it. There was some challenges.
As you share your philosophies and as for whether it's for investing or the way that you're helping other leaders lead, I think our listeners would love to hear from you, Ben. Maybe what has been one overarching theme or mindset that you help set in thinking about your business for handling whether it's upside, downsides, or even thinking about the markets as a whole. One of the things I've always found about people who are just rock stars in their space is there's something unique about the way that they approach things. One, do you know what that is? And two, can you share it?
I do. I don't believe in the word can't or contraction, shouldn't, wouldn't, or couldn't. We are a solution oriented business, and that's what my company is. I've learned at a young age that you can't focus on the problems. You got to go right to the solution and figure it out. And that takes persistence, that takes showing up. Lou, I would work weekends if I had to, nights. I would do whatever it takes. I had commitment written all over me. And that's what it takes to be successful in any business. It's commitment. And you look at icons like Jeff Bezos and Elon Musk and all these icons in business that are wildly successful. And I'm no different when it comes to mindset like they are. It's commitment. It's how bad you want it, how bad you want to be successful, how bad you want to continue learning, because we're always learning. And I see where success lies is commitment. You do not have to know everything in the world. I know I don't, but I am outstanding at bringing in third party resources that will help me get to where I need to be or solve those problems or challenges that face. So when we're in turbulent times or a recession or tough economic conditions or lack of liquidity in the market from a lending perspective, it's where you roll up your sleeves and you go the extra mile. I'm going to spend another hour or two at work. I'm going to stretch myself. I'm going to do things that people don't want to do. And that to me is how you generate success. I mean, someone asked me the other day, Lou, they said, what is the definition of success? And that definition has changed for me as I've aged. It's to me, it's how many people I serve. And, you know, the more hands you shake, the more money you can make in life. And when I serve people and I help people, and that's my energy, the money just attracts to our company and what we do. And it wasn't like that when I was a young man. I was a kid when I first started.
You still look like a young man to me. I don't know. You're dating yourself.
I don't
More
know.
than
I
you do.
got this
Sure, a
beard.
little gray. You
I
know,
grew this beard, and
some of us don't
it's
have what you
great.
got up top. So I don't want to hear any of this stuff about the aging stuff. I think you're looking great,
Well,
man.
I'm about to turn 53 years old.
So we're the same
On
age, believe it or
on the
not. So good.
21st, and you know, someone said, "Hey, that beard makes you look older. Maybe you should shave it." I actually kind of like the beard. It's kind of rocking. It's one of the icons from Chicago. He always had a beard, and I always looked up to him. His name was Sam Zell, and I said, "If
Oh,
that
yeah.
guy can rock a beard, Ben Reinberg can rock a beard." And so I've always looked up to him and a lot of icons from Chicago and commercial real estate. But yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, it's all about commitment, how bad you want it, how disciplined you are. Are you drinking excessively? Do you work out? I am a health nut. I work out with a trainer at least 5 days a week. Uh, I'm into my health. I eat healthy, chicken breast and salmon and all the things you need to. And as you get in your 50s, you got to be a little more conscientious of your cholesterol and everything else. And
Yeah, it kind of sucks. I don't understand why I can't have 3 slices of pizza anymore. I don't know why
I
that's the thing.
that's the thing coming from Chicago. I mean, between
That's
pizza and
well,
Polish sausages and Italian beef, to me, it's like I said, okay, those are like delicacies that I have to give up. And so, being in
I
California,
looked in a vending machine in Chicago. Lipitor is actually one of the options next to the Cokes and the soda machines in the Poland Springs. It's there in
that's
the
right.
venue.
That's right. That's right.
Ben, I want to ask this question I ask most of the guests on the show because, look, you've been successful in your career. You're thriving now. You're thinking about the next step, and you're also doing what great leaders do is understanding how appreciative your team is, which means as a leader, you're thriving. Yet we all have those days when we're not quite kicking on all cylinders and we're a little off our game. Ben Reinberg, when you have trouble thriving, what practice do you seek, or maybe which individual do you seek out to get yourself back on the thriving track?
Well, I have mentors and they beat me up and they will kick my ass, Lou. And I'll call a mentor and he'll straighten me out. But a lot of the things I learned was when I was younger and for a long time, I always lived in fear. And I learned about what the state of love really means and how to treat people and how to change my mindset to be in a state of love compared to fear. And I learned that from one of my mentors. And that's allowed me to really impact people. And so when I'm having a down day or I'm sad or upset or I'm not being treated well or I didn't get the deal I wanted or lost an employee, whatever it is, I change my mindset as fast as I can to that love state, to that positive, confident man that I have to be as a leader. And that was something I had to teach myself and learn. And so I'll go and reach out to mentors. One of the things I do is I meditate. So if I have a big meeting or a big negotiation coming up, I will sit in this office I'm sitting in and I'll sit Indian style. Most people don't know this. I've never told anyone this. People around me kind of know I do this. I might hold up a meeting for 10 minutes and people might sit on a Zoom call for 10 minutes waiting for me because I want to meditate or finish. And when I am balanced like that, I am at my best. And I've learned that because one of the things I've learned was how to balance my emotions. If you can control your mind, you can control anything. And I've learned that at as I got older, because I could not figure out how to. Excuse me, let me just cancel that.
He's just such a busy guy, listeners. He's all in. Everybody wants to make a deal today with Ben. That's what it is.
They do. Anyways, no, but what ended up happening was I couldn't figure out, like, I would get angry when I was younger. And I had to take a step back and say, how do I work on myself? So I got into personal development and meditation. And it really allowed me, because our deals take a long time to get done. Acquisitions, dispositions when we sell a property, lease negotiations, sometimes they go on for a year, you know. And so how do you deal with it? How do you deal with your emotions? And by the way, you have family pulling at you, you got employees, you got other things, you got friends, you're busy. And so you have to create space for yourself. And I had to learn that. I had to learn what space really means. So being in California, it's nice. I could leave my office and go for a half-hour walk, just like I did today, or an hour walking, give myself space and clear my mind. Yeah. So I advise anyone out there is really understand yourself and your emotions and figure out how to balance them, figure out how to not get triggered. When I was younger, I would get triggered. I always thought everyone was out to get me. I always thought, like, oh, I'm the young guy in the business. They're looking to just put me down like a hammer on a nail. And I had a chip on my shoulder. And that's how I was able to grow, is I used that chip. But I learned as I got older, I said, you know what? I don't need that chip. I just need happiness. Because someone told me this, and it was a great quote, and I've owned this quote for a long time, was, your environment's not going to provide you happiness. Your happiness will provide the environment that you want around you.
Yeah.
And when someone told me that, I had an aha moment. I said, oh my God, they're absolutely right. If I'm happy, my environment and the people around me will reflect that as well. And guess what? I'll inspire people. I'll lead better. My negotiation will be better. I'll be a better listener. And I'll be coming from a place where it's more of a love type situation, and that chip will go away. And it really took me a long time, Lou, to really understand that. And that principle really has allowed me to thrive in life and grow as a person. So I'm constantly growing. Yeah, have I been wildly successful in commercial real estate? Sure. Okay. But it's been a lot of work and a lot of grinding and a lot of risk. Okay. I didn't get here overnight. It took,
Yep.
I've been this almost 3 decades. However, I do advise people is work on yourself, be the best version of yourself, be authentic. People know who I am. They know where I come from. They know that I'm a huge Swedish fish fan and a Snickers fan, even though I'm healthy. People know who I am. Like I'm like, this is who I am, and I'm proud of it. And I love myself enough that I'm going to tell you who I am. I'll tell you my shortcomings, and I'll tell you that I'm not perfect, just like anyone else. And I think when you can own that, and that's why my podcast, I started because not only are we going to touch on commercial real estate and business and health and wealth and relationships, but we're going to talk about being responsible for everything in your life, because at the end of the day, you control your life.
Yep.
And society doesn't really touch on that. If you can control your life and say, hey, Lou, you own your life. And so my podcast is Ben Reinberg, I Own It, because it teaches people not only about the topics I just talked about, but really about life and like owning your own life. And that's a topic in a conversation that people don't want to have because they just want to kind of coast through life. And a lot of people just coast through life instead of living the life that they want and the life of their dreams. And I hope with the courses I teach and the content I'm going to provide and my show and everything else is that I can inspire that person. The reason why my coursework came about was being from Chicago, and I see all the homicides and the rough nature of the city that I know and love. I said, what if I could take one man or woman and change their life, and that changes their kids, their parents, their grandparents, their legacy? How many folks would that impact in the world? And so I said, well, what if we took one person and made 1,000? What would that change? And I feel that you get to a certain point in your life and your career, and you create an expertise. I feel that you have an obligation to share it with people.
Yeah, totally.
And that's what I want to do. I want to share my knowledge. I want to help people. I want to help my company and my staff and my leadership team. And that's the point I'm at in my life, is serving. And I get a lot of gratitude and benefit. It feels good to me to help people. I love doing things to change people's lives. I have a lot of women that work for me, and some of them are single mothers. And I have one single mother. I've watched her and helped her. She's put 3 kids through college.
Awesome.
And I take that one story, and to me, that's what warms my heart. I don't look at the money. I don't look at the deals we own. I don't look at any of that stuff. I look at those intangibles, like what were the spin-offs or the variables that came out of our hard work. And that to me is what's so gratifying. So serving people and helping people is something that's who the real Ben Reinberg is. And that's who I always want to strive to be.
But let's do this, Ben. Let's do the admin part of the show. We're going to go down Fun Street. Share with the listeners all the places people can find you, learn about you, where they can go, links and all that. We will put it all in the show notes, but it gets more engagement when they hear it from you.
Absolutely. Well, I have my own website now. It's benreinberg.com, and we're in the process of redoing that as well. We're going to enhance it. And you can follow me on any social media platform. On Instagram, it's at The Real Ben Reinberg. YouTube, our podcast is on there. Ben Reinberg, I Own It, which is on YouTube, as well as every podcast platform, Apple, Spotify, Stitcher, you name it. It's all over the place. We have great guests and provide great content. If you're interested in commercial real estate, AllianceCGC.com. That's AllianceCGC.com. We have a brand new fund called the Alliance Medical Property Fund. If you're interested in investing in medical properties passively and building wealth and tax benefits, feel free to reach out to me and we'll direct you to the right person to invest with us. I'm a huge proponent of our fund. I am an investor as well. I love what we do. So my company is a good way to follow me. My personal brand, which we're growing. I just got involved in social media in April and May this year, and that's growing. So Instagram, Facebook.
Which do you like the least? Which of the social handles do you like the least? You could be honest. We want to hear this.
I'm just learning. So I don't know if I have a discomfort with anyone because I'm still learning the technology and the platforms. I think Twitter is really neat. I think that's a cool thing. And Alon's enhancing it. Instagram to me is really interesting. It loses a little bit of its authenticity, social media in certain respects. Facebook has a little bit, I think a good way to connect with people, especially our age, Lou. Instagram has a little bit younger.
We're the old people. I know we are the old people.
But I'm still learning how it works. I have a staff that works on my social media and my podcast, and so I like YouTube really well. I think that's a really cool platform. I love YouTube.
Well, you're going to be on all of them on this program, so we're going to have to see which one people like you the most on, and we're going to loop that back. I think that's what we're going to do.
That's right.
Here's what I want to do. I want to do Fun Street with you. Ben, I love asking guests this questions, and we're the same age, and this should be interesting. Ben, I love asking guests on this program, do you have an all-time favorite movie that you love to watch or rewatch?
First of all, I have a lot of movies I love to watch and rewatch, but the one I've seen, I mean, I'm going to exaggerate, it could be 1,000 times. I've never watched a movie 1,000 times, but it seems like it, is Shawshank Redemption.
Okay.
For some reason, you end up and you start turning on, and I don't watch much TV anymore, Lou. I really don't. But when I did, I'd always see that, it would be Thanksgiving or Christmas or whatever, and Shawshank Redemption would be on. That's one of them. Growing up in the era we did, I'm a huge Rocky fan. Sylvester Stallone. Rambo is always a favorite of mine. So, and obviously the Godfather series and, and Al Pacino in movie.
Shawshank is a good one. We've had a lot of guests. We did a countdown. I think we're in the 800s, 900s. I don't know. How many episodes do we have? I'm looking at our producer. We have many. But on the 200th episode, we did a countdown of the movies. And someone had suggested recently that we should redo the countdown because Shawshank was like number 2. I think it might be number 1 now because people like it so much. Let alone the fact you get to listen to Morgan Freeman speak, which is worth everything.
Morgan Freeman's an icon, and he's as Red in that movie. He is just absolutely spectacular. And so is I can't remember the lead actor's name too.
Some guy named Tim Robbins, whatever he might be.
Yeah, Tim Robbins. So he's phenomenal too, and so it's a great story, and
it's all about hope.
It's all about hope and persistence and just belief, which is really a staple of my business, commercial real estate, and something to pass on to your listeners is that believe in yourself and really love yourself because no one else loves yourself as much as you do, and it's a concept I really had to understand. When I was younger, I always had to feel like I was pleasing people, whether investors or brokers or principals in our business or whoever. And I realized I wasn't giving myself enough love throughout life. And so, it's funny, you get to our age and you really start looking back. You're like, wow, can you imagine if you were in your 20s knowing the knowledge, Lou, that you had today, how you would be different. And so we look at that stuff and we take it for granted. So, I've learned to be present in life. Don't worry about the future. The past is the past. I mean, there's a saying,
I'm going to hit him. Listeners, Ben Reinberg wins the award. I think he hit more expressions and things to say in this episode than we probably ever have. I love it.
Yeah, my favorite one is
we're gonna do a speed round of all of them. I think at the top of the show.
Let me give one. Let me give one because this is really important.
Go. Yeah.
When you're making progress in your career, your life, or relationships, I always say burn the ships or burn the bridge behind you. Don't burn bridges of relationships. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about you get to another level in your life or your career. Don't look in the past. Don't start judging yourself. Burn that past behind you and look in the front windshield And I had to learn that concept a long time ago. And it's something that someone taught me, I think is a great lesson. I hope everyone out there in your audience can understand that. But it's a great lesson because it's like, you know what? If you were on an island, okay, and you burn the boat, you can't get off that island. That island shows your progress. So just keep moving forward. Just keep pushing forward and don't worry about what other people say. Just keep pushing forward and be yourself.
Love it. We're going to do the speed round, Ben. This is how it rolls. I'm going to ask you something. I want the first thing that comes to your mind.
Okay.
These are things that lift you up, motivate you, make you feel good. They basically make you thrive. Okay? Ready? Take a drink of water, and here we go.
Let's do it.
Of late, a song that you love to listen to, or maybe one that pumps you up.
Just Getting Started by Jason Aldean.
Ooh, that's a good one. A favorite food that's not a dessert.
Spaghetti bolognese.
Ooh. A favorite dessert.
Carrot cake.
You like a lot of icing or a lot of cake? That's a serious question.
I like the cream cheese part of it.
Okay, yeah, like more of the icing. I got you.
Yeah, I'm more of the icing, I guess.
An activity you wish you did more of.
Golf. I don't get to play enough golf or have the time, and that's something I'm going to pick up. Also, surfing. I want to get into surfing now that I live in the surfing capital of the world.
I would say so. An activity you wish you did less of.
Traveling for work.
Gotcha.
I'm getting to the point where it's getting pretty tiring.
An activity you recently tried that you want to recommend to everybody you meet.
Pickleball. I learned how to play pickleball this summer, and I took a lesson, and I didn't know, when they said the kitchen, I thought it was like a real kitchen, and then I realized it was a section on the court. So I might have to take another lesson because I can't remember all the rules anymore. It's been like 8 months since I played, but I really enjoyed it. It was fun, and so looking forward to.
I agree with you on that. I've been playing a lot of it. We'll talk more after. Okay. If I could snap my fingers, I was going through Jason Aldean. I was writing my notes in this. Ben Reinberg, if I could snap my fingers and you could be anywhere in the world, where are you?
I'm in the Amalfi Coast.
Oh, nice. And you've been?
No, I've never been. I plan on hopefully next year going to the Amalfi Coast. I just got back from Spain with my family on a 2-week vacation, and what a spectacular country that is. And I was really grateful to be there. And the architecture and the history is just awesome. Unbelievable. Yeah.
Ben Reinberg, everybody check everything out we've got in the notes here. Such a pleasure to have you on the program. Thanks for coming on Thrive Loud. Hey, continued success to you. And dude, I'll see you on the pickleball court.
I love that. Yeah, definitely. And we'll go out for dinner afterwards.
You're done. To all the listeners out there, thank you for joining us. And until next time, keep moving onward and upward. And remember, be brief, be bright, be gone.
Just getting started tonight.
You've been listening to Thrive Loud with your host, Lou Diamond. Check us out on the web at thriveloud.com and follow us on Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, and Facebook at Thrive Loud. And check us out on the Good Pods app at Thrive Loud, where you can follow, listen, and connect directly to Lou and all of the Thrive Loud episodes. Thanks for listening.